All right, guys, and just for the record, because Uni's gonna say something, I am parked. Look at me in park, waiting for some smoothies. So I just wanted to clarify something that I did say earlier about stretching. There are times whenever I do a cool down static stretches or that like post-workout cool down in general, which doesn't have to include static stretches only, but in my cool down, typically when I'm finishing, let's just say a upper body pull day, so lots of rowing, I will do some stuff for my rotator cuff because I feel like that's missed sometimes in training. So that's part of my cool down, is lighter weight, or I'll go a little bit heavier, whatever, for targeting those weaker areas. So people ask me a lot, when do I do those things for weak areas like clamshells for your glute medius? When do I do my core work? When do I do my rotator cuff work? When do I do my mobility? First of all, you could always do them separate as their own thing. So you do your workout, end of the night, you do your mobility stuff. But let's just say like it requires your mobility stuff or your work for your rotator cuff or for whatever injury you have. Shoulder requires cables, so you have to be at your gym, or requires weights that you don't have at home, or bands, or a rig to set up to that you don't have at home. So I would advise that before you do a workout, let's just say it's legs, you should activate the muscles first. Then you mobilize joint mobilization. So you're doing stuff specific to your movements. So for leg day, you know you have ankle issues or hip issues or hamstring tightness. That's when you do your mobilizations for your hips. That's when you do your hamstring movements. That's when you maybe even do some hip airplanes, which is a single leg RDL when you hold onto a rig and you rotate. I can do a video on that. But hip airplanes, that's whenever you're doing your single leg RDLs, or your balance work, which is something you should not forget about. If you're watching this video, you should be working balance, stability, which are different, but balance and stability, flexibility, mobility, and agility and stability. I said stability twice, oops. But seriously, working on agility, and coordination are skills that deteriorate with age, and our brain grows to forget. And there's going to be times where we're going to have to move quickly, reaction time. You slip on the ice, instead of falling on your butt, you can catch yourself. Instead of something is flying off the counter, you'll be able to reach and grab it, be able to stand on one, like be able to be mobile. You land funny on your ankle, instead of your ankle rolling out, you are strong enough in it. So training those weak areas, training stability, training balance, so important. And coordination, something we forget about. Like, we should all kind of know how to juggle, or something close to juggling. Mine is close to juggling. So anyways, rant aside, that's how I would do my workouts: activate, mobilize, then warm up. And warm up could be as simple as just getting your heart rate up more with some cardio. And remember, mobility is not static stretching. But post workout, that's whenever, at the end of my workout, if my workout is not core specific or doesn't have direct core work training, that's when I do my core work. It's directly after the workout. So if I know I have a set plan for my core work. So if I know today is my core endurance work, I know I'm going to be doing long holds or lots of repetitions, still focusing on quality contraction. So that's when I would do my core. Then you do your static stretching. That's whenever you do your longer pigeons. Maybe you stay a little bit mobile in your pigeon. Maybe you work on rotating the belly button this way or that way, or you're doing your child's pose and reaching your hands over to get your lats stretched out. It depends on what you're trying to stretch, right? So you might have to actually be more active in it, rather than static. Sometimes it feels good to hold that static stretch, challenge yourself in that flexibility, in that motion. So that's a great time to do static stretches and train your weaker areas. So if you have some rotator cuff issues, time to do your rotator cuff work or external rotation work post-workout, and then you do your cool down. But I think we should always include a warm-up. We should always include a cool down. Super important. But what about sessions where it's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and a lot of YouTubers in Pilates or in yoga will have a cool down routine, and it's slower, it's about your breathing, it's more static stretches. So are they wrong? No, they're not, because a lot of the static holds that look like they're just holding a pose, they're actually very active in. They're really flexing the quad, they're really stretching on that hamstring, they're really pulling their core in, they're really bracing through their abs. So what looks to the surface, like if you watched me do like my mobility routine where it's pretty slow, you'd be like, oh, she's not doing a lot of anything. And then you would go to do it and you're like, oh, Jesus, or you're falling off balance because it requires a lot more than you think. So, static stretching on its own session is more than fine. I think that you need to start gently for your body. If you get up from an 8-hour day sitting at a desk at work, and then you're like, I'm gonna do the splits, like throw yourself down, unless you're really, really trained in the splits for a long time, throwing yourself into that very hard end range is not a thing I would suggest. I would suggest doing the world's greatest stretch, doing some like lizard pose, opening up the hips a little bit, standing, doing some hip openers, like getting your low back a little bit warm, and working on those hinging patterns, going for 5 to 10 seconds of a toe touch or a forward fold, going back and forth between just a little inhale, come up the shins and down, getting your hamstrings warm, getting your hips open and warm, and then you go for your static stretches. So if you even watch a yoga routine, they warm up to it. If you're watching like Bird Motion, if you're a Bird member, he goes through ways to get you warm. You will never start with a 2-minute static stretch. I don't really think we should be spending more than 2 minutes in any kind of static stretch anyways, unless you're training for something where you're going to be in end range for a long time. So if you're a trapeze athlete, when you're in a really long position, you're holding that pose for a minute where you are basically in a split at the very end range for your hips and for your hamstrings, while keeping a really tight braced core, then sure. But for most of us, I think that we can comfortably kind of get lazy holding, say, a pigeon pose or a forward fold, and you're kind of just like rounded in your back, or in your pigeon, you're kind of just like throw yourself on the floor and your foot starts to come in. Work on being more active in it. So the thing I just mentioned was that static stretching should be like never done on its own. That's not entirely true. I just mean that you shouldn't go for long static stretches when you've been sitting for a long time. So take everything with context for your body and for where you are timing wise. Obviously, if you've been sitting for 8 hours, you should not jump down the splits in the same way that if I were sitting for 8 hours, I would not get up and do 30 burpees real fast and sit right back down, because that's just not healthy for your body. So that's all I got, guys. Make sure you are taking care of your body, focusing on mobility. When you mentioned the Ready State app, you actually have to go on the website first and sign up for a membership / a 14-day free trial. The free trial is great because you can try one of their 14-day challenge programs and see if you like him. Like, is his voice too calming for you? Like, do you not like the program? Do you not feel like you learned anything? I've learned so much from this man, Dr. Kelly Starrett. He wrote Becoming a Supple Leopard, which is a great book, and everyone that cares about their body and cares about fitness should read it. It changed the way that I think about my body, honestly. So the Ready State app, it's a 14-day free trial. I don't work for them. I'm not like advertised for them. I work for Burn. So I'm just telling you what has helped me a lot and has done a lot for me. I think the membership was like $140 for the year. And if you pay for it per month, it's like $14 a month. So it's not a huge commitment. And they have pre-workouts, so warm-ups, they have post-workouts, cool downs. They have off-day mobility. So if you're taking like your rest day, 10, 20, 30-minute mobility. If you're in pain, there's a pain section, symptom relief. And it's all laid out for you. So it's not like you have to compile a mobility program for yourself, although you could with the library and all the knowledge that you get from the program. So that's all I got. Stretching, it's great, just in the right context. Have a good day, guys.